9 political parties, including the BJP and the Congress, have been held guilty of contempt and fined today by the Supreme Court for not making public criminal records of their candidates. The Congress, BJP and 4 other parties were fined 1 lakh rupees each. The CPM and the Nationalist Congress Party, or NCP, fined 5 lakhs for not following the order in last year's Bihar election. Records of criminal cases have to now be made public by parties within 48 hours of candidate selection. In a big step towards decriminalizing politics, the Supreme Court has also warned parties to be cautious and display all information on the homepage of their websites. The Election Commission has also been asked to create a mobile app. Vaidyanathan joining us with the latest on that. Vaidyanathan, besides this order, very strong words coming from the Supreme Court as well. Tell us more.
Yes, 2-judge bench, Justice R.F. Nariman and B.R. Gavoy today. Particularly, Justice Nariman is retiring on 12th of this month as a parting shot. So the court said, despite repeated appeals to the political parties, they are in deep slumber. So they say court cannot enact a law because it's the domain of the parliament. They can't encroach upon. They can only appeal. It's for the political parties to wake up from the deep slumber and beat out the malignancy of criminalization of politics. These are the very strong words. Of course, court said that Election Commission should monitor through a special cell to see whether all political parties follow the Supreme Court orders, and also see to that the app completely contains everything to the voter who can just watch it on the mobile.
All right, Vaidya, thanks very much indeed for joining us. With that, we're going to take this across to guests, lawyers joining us on the show right now. We have Ashutosh Srivastav, advocate in the Supreme Court, and someone who supports the BJP with us. Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate in the Supreme Court, also with us. Ashutosh Srivastav, your reaction to this, the BJP and other parties being fined. Some might add that it's a fairly nominal fine that that has been put on them. Your thoughts at this point?
I think it's a good move by the Honorable Supreme Court, and this is not the order. Actually, the order was already passed in the last year, February 2020, and all these political parties were already directed.
Right.
That,
they've been found. They've been found.
So
in
it is basically the contempt petition,
yes,
which is pending, which is going on. And in this contempt petition, Supreme Court observed that the political parties are not following that order which was passed last year. Actually, this order is very important so far as the people of this country, they are concerned, because they are the voters. They have to elect their own government. And obviously, this becomes the responsibility of the political parties to be transparent to the people of this country. So whomever they are selecting as their candidates, if they're,
certainly, and they had to do this within 48 hours, and they've been told to do so in no uncertain terms. And the Election Commission has also been asked to provide an app where this can be done with some transparency.
Yes,
but Sanjay Hegde, if I can bring you in at this point, political parties, 8 of them. I mean, this is obviously something that happens across political parties. If you have 8 or 9 parties all being fined at this point, perhaps varying sums, but they've all been found equally guilty of contempt of court. And, is a 1 lakh rupee fine or a 5 lakh rupee fine going to make a world of difference?
No, the point is not the quantum of the fine. The point is the fine itself. After all, you can ensure compliance of people by holding them guilty. You may remember that even when the Babri Masjid was destroyed after an affidavit given by the UP government, Mr. Kalyan Singh was sentenced to 1 day's imprisonment. The length of the imprisonment was not the question. The question was that for contempt of court, there has been a punishment. The principle counts.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Having said that, though, if we can just get some figures up on our screens at this point of, the spike that we have seen, of the alarming increase of criminals, if we can call them that, in politics. In 2004, 24% MPs had criminal cases pending against them. That went up to 30% in 2009. 34% in 2014, and in 2019, 43% of MPs had criminal cases against them. Sanjay Hegde, your thoughts?
Well, for quite some time, political parties have been patronizing criminals, obviously because they deliver votes, they know how to harvest votes. At the same point of time, we must also learn how to distinguish between violent crime and, criminal cases which are often filed when somebody is in a protest, in a procession, and you break a 144 order and things like that.
Right.
That is why the court has been careful to ensure that all details regarding the criminal cases be put up in a manner that the voters come to know about it and they take an informed decision thereafter.
Yes, that's an important point you're making, and I'd like to take that across to Ashutosh Srivastava as well. The fact, Ashutosh Srivastava, that many of these cases and charges could also be false and motivated. People who've taken part in demonstrations, sometimes peaceful, who've been charged with attempt to murder. There have been instances like that. So it is important then to distinguish.
Yes, I do agree. There could be many false charges. There could be many false FIRs against the candidates. But this is just for the knowledge of the people of this country who are the voters. And once the trial is conducted, or if they are discharged from a particular case, the same can further be uploaded on the website, and the people can come to know that the person was charged wrongfully, or if it was a wrong kind of allegations against a person. So it will be a matter of trial, of course, but at least it will give an idea to the people of this country while they go for voting these candidates, so that everything becomes transparent to them. Yes, there could be, as I earlier also said, that there could be some false allegations, but false allegations doesn't mean that there is nothing pending against a candidate. Of course, the candidate is, under, in a way, obligation to prove himself to be innocent, and that may take time. But the court is not saying that a person who is said to be, accused of certain crime has committed a crime, but it is just kind of the allegations he is coming up with as a candidate. So that is what is important, I think. That should be announced publicly and people should know about it.
Sanjay Hegde, just to take you through some of the observations from the Supreme Court today, Court has appealed to lawmakers to bring necessary amendments so that the involvement of persons with criminal antecedents in polity is prohibited. Despite repeated appeals, parties refuse to wake up from deep slumber, says an obviously aggravated Supreme Court. Court's appeals have fallen on deaf ears. Though we want to do something urgently, our hands are tied. Once again, does this then become a matter of the separation of the judiciary and the executive, and how much the Supreme Court can do at this point?
The Supreme Court can only interpret the law as made by Parliament. And parliamentarians are unlikely to make laws which would affect them in elections. That would be like the turkeys who vote for Thanksgiving. Very unlikely. Or to use an Indianism, the goats voting for Bakri. It just will not happen. So what the court is doing is to try and use its moral authority to hope that Parliament and the lawmakers heed their advice and make laws which would have at least some kind of filtering effect as to the kind of people that get elected. So it has given these directions that at least the people know what kind of politicians are up for election and what kind of charges they are likely to face in a criminal court.
A quick comment, Mr. Srivastava. There seems to be the court almost seems to be really sort of appealing to parties even as it finds them for contempt, saying court's appeals have fallen on deaf ears. Why has there been no change?
Yes, this is really a serious concern. I think now in this country, the courts are only trying to, run the country in a proper manner. Otherwise, it should be the responsibility of the political parties and the government and the authorities, even the Election Commission of India, to take serious note of all these issues, because the judgments passed by Supreme Court takes a lot of time, lot of effort, and by so many people. And once the judgment is passed, if it is not followed, obviously it becomes a serious issue. It is also a big question mark on the democracy of this country. So I think it's
why the need to have criminal candidates at all, especially those with serious criminal cases against them? I mean, politicians will never stick their necks out on something like that.
No, this is the principle or the right idea of the Supreme Court. This is the approach. If this has to be made public, then obviously the political parties will have to be serious while they select their candidates.
It's up to the very well-informed public to then decide on whether who they want to elect as their legislators.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you both for joining us on this show.